Hello, my name is Andrea Quesada, and today I will be talking about my mini ethnography case study about ADHD. So, what is ADHD? ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. The definition by LDA, or Learning Disabilities Association of America, said it is a disorder that includes difficulty staying focused and paying attention, difficulty controlling behavior, and hyperactivity. Another definition that I would like to talk about in this presentation is given by Dr. Hollowell. He says that ADHD is like a Ferrari with bicycle brakes. Later on during this presentation, I will go more in depth into this quote. The Clinic of Mayo said that some symptoms about ADHD are hyperactivity, disorganization, forgetfulness, inattention, distraction, impulsiveness, and trouble multitasking. Even though ADHD is a disorder, in order to become a disability, to be a disability, and to receive benefits from a school district with this disability, and it's to impact education performance. So there are three requisites in order to be diagnosed and declared as a disability. Number one is the individual must be experiencing educational performance problems at school. And this problem must be documented by the parent, guardian, or a school teacher. And number two is the individual must be referred for an evaluation by the local school district. And again, this can be requested either by the parent or a teacher. And number three, it is really important that the individual takes the test. So an evaluation needs to be completed. It is important to also know that there's three types of ADHD. The first one is inattentive ADHD, which is when they have trouble paying attention to detail. They get easily distracted, they often have trouble organizing or finishing tasks, and often forget the routine chores. The next type is Hyperactive Impulsive ADHD, which is when the individual is restless and fidgety while doing any and all quiet activities. Usually, patients and students with Hyperactive Impulsive ADHD tends to interrupt in inappropriate times, and they usually also get into trouble frequently. And then we have the third type, which is a combination of these two types of ADD and ADHD. So for this case study, I interview an individual that suffers from severe combination of ADHD and ADD. The purpose of this case study is to get more of an insider's point of view from this individual with a specific background who has been involved in the education system in the United States from kindergarten to 12th grade. I also did some research on my own to fully understand what ADHD is and how it does affect the performance of our students and how we can improve our school education to better address the needs of these individuals. So let's go on the journey with my interviewee. We're gonna call her Maya. These are the questions that I asked Maya. I'm not gonna read them all, but you're more than welcome to pause this video and read them so you have a better understanding of how I got all my knowledge in order to do this presentation. So Maya is 22 years old. She was born in Taylorsville, Utah. She was raised in Gilbert, Arizona. She is currently a student here in BYU University, Brigham Young University. And as I mentioned before, she has a severe combination of ADHD and ADD. Let's talk about school, community, and culture. Her kindergarten through 6th grade, she was in the Spectrum Elementary School. The student population of Spectrum Elementary School is around 640 students and around 50 teachers. I think it's really important to know the diversity of this school. As we may know, Arizona is well known to have diverse community and cultures. So here's a comparison between the school population and the community population. We can see that there's a lot of integration from white, Hispanics, individuals with 2 or more races, Hawaiians, Black, and American Indians. Gilbert, Arizona is known as the 2nd safest city in the United States. The current population of Gilbert, Arizona is around 200,000 approximately. And something that I thought was really interesting about this city is that they really care about education. A quote from the World Population Review says, quote, over 92% of residents aged 25 or older holding at least a high school diploma or GED, while over 37% hold a bachelor's degree or higher, and over 10% have obtained a master's degree or higher. Let's go back to kindergarten. The only thing that Maya remembered from kindergarten, it was that every single time that she completed a task, in this case, puzzles most of the time, she received a reward, candies. So I thought it was really interesting that over all her schooling in kindergarten, she only remembered the rewarding part. From kindergarten to 6th grade, she struggled a lot with homework and assignments and tests. By 6th grade, she had 300 plus missing assignments. And quote, she said, "You're lazy and you need to get your life together," end quote. This is all she remembers from her elementary and middle school teachers. She was lazy and she needed to figure out how to get her life together. So it was around 6th grade when this mindset started developing in Maya's head that it was something wrong with her and she better figure out what it was. This brings us to assistance and help. She never got assistance and she never asked for help, which personally, it makes me feel really sad and concerned about the teachers. She said, quote, "I didn't get it. I didn't know what was wrong with me. My teachers and parents were mad at me. Everyone else seemed to get it. And even though I love learning, I couldn't do the work that I was supposed to do. I was the problem. It was my mental personal problem." So what Maya was thinking back then was, this is my problem. I need to figure out, and I don't want to give, and I don't want to be the problem to someone else. So she always tried to hide the possible symptoms of ADHD in her life. So a typical day in high school for her started around 6:25. This is the time that she wakes up, although her classes began at 6:30. So every single day, every single month or every single year throughout her high school life, she was late for classes. And this really impacted her grades as well. Then she would go to classes. And she really enjoyed extracurricular activities and electives because she couldn't focus more and pay more attention because she was engaged into it. In the other side of the coin, we have classes that are more towards lectures, such as math or science, that she really struggled with because she never engaged to the class. After her classes, she went back home and she will always strive to complete some homework in school study. However, every time that something came up, any little distraction will interrupt this task. For example, if a friend came and they invite her to hang out or do some other activities, she couldn't control herself to say no. She just went for it. And because of this, she couldn't study. And because she couldn't study, she usually failed the tests. So what are some difficult tasks that she confronted in school? One of the big difficult tasks that she confronted in high school was studying. Maya really likes stories. She likes to tell her stories. She likes to watch movies and everything related with stories. But she cannot read books. Her mind will not concentrate enough or for a long period of time in order to read books or just study. So she really had a hard time and difficulty with long homework assignments or lectures. Another difficult task that she had struggles with, along with a lot of student populations that suffer from ADHD, is group assignments and projects. Even though I personally thought that this was going to be a task that she enjoyed because she was surrounded by her peers, she felt the opposite. She felt more stressed, and all she thought about it was that she was going to forget what she was supposed to do, and she will fail her peers. So she never performed well group projects. Now, some classes she enjoyed are rewarding activities. So a couple minutes ago, I talked about how she remembers from kindergarten how every time that she completed a puzzle, they will give her candy. Throughout her schooling life, she always enjoyed rewarding activities because the way that she explained it was, quote, "My brain will be more willing to do the work," end quote. She also enjoyed creative activities when she got the opportunity to do drawing, to write stories, to sing a song, to dance, to interact a lot. But it needed to be excited and creative. For example, she joined choir, and she mentioned that it was the only class that she fully paid attention to and enjoyed, because when it became time to perform, she will do it with her peers and she will feel equal to her peers. She will feel that she felt that she fit in. About Maya's family. Maya's family are her mom, her dad, and her 3 brothers. When Maya was 13 years old, her parents got divorced, and this also affected her schooling and daily life activities. Her dad also went to prison, and because of this, they lost home, they lost family, and she became to understand a little bit more about poverty. It's important to mention that Many of her teachers and community blamed the divorce for the drama that she was having at school, which are also symptoms of ADHD. But because of her parents' divorce, nobody really paid attention to those little details that were indicated that she was suffering from ADHD. At this period in her life, she also suffered from depression, and it was hard for her and her family. So poverty, as I mentioned, they have low family income. They lost her house and she lost contact with her father. This is when also community came to help. Her family are members, her and her family are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And that community really helped them while going through poverty. They made sure that their bills, like electric bills or water bills or gas bills, were paid. They provide with food. They provide with that emotional support that they needed at this time. I'm talking about friends. They were a huge support about the poverty side on her life when she went through poverty and emotional roller coasters. However, when we talk about ADHD, they were a huge barrier for her because they make fun of her the entire time and they make her feel inferior to them because she was so irresponsible and she didn't perform well at school. Her friends felt that it was their responsibility to parent her. But because of this, she felt even more inferior to her peers. Let's talk about planning. Something that really helped Maya in her life was planning. But the interesting thing here is that she didn't realize until later on in life. Her mom would always strive to buy a planner for her. But because the ADHD, she will lose it all the time or forget to not look at it. However, later in his life, she set a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. A mission is when young adults go to another cultures and communities and even countries to serve and to preach what they believed in for around a year to 2 years. She had the opportunity to go to New Zealand and to Georgia. When the community of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints served missions, they lived with a companion, with a partner, every single day, every single time. And this helped her a lot to realize that she was able to do something about her ADHD, even though she didn't even know that she had it. Quote, "My companion helped me to be accountable, planned, set up goals, and when to do it and everything. I never felt more accomplished in my life. I never accomplished anything until my mission because we took to the schedule and she helped me to not forget things." So after her mission, she always tried to always have a planner with her, and that actually really helped. Her opinion about ADHD is that it's the most misunderstood disability. A lot of people just think it's just a cheesy disability that does not really affect, people, but it really does affect every aspect of our lives. So how did she actually find out that she had and suffered from ADHD? So after her mission, she came back home and she realized that nothing changed with her. She went back to the old habits. She became lazy and irresponsible once again. After a lot of struggles, she followed an advice from a friend to get the application called TikTok. She downloaded, and the first thing that came out was, you're not lazy, you have ADHD. She was really curious about it, and she started doing some more research on the topic. And she found out that every single symptom of ADHD was described in her life. She told her mom, and then she got tested. An important factor that she mentioned during the interview is that she waited until get to college to do the test. Why? Because in Gilbert, Arizona, as far as my knowledge goes, getting tested for ADHD is around $700. But here at Brigham Young University, Idaho, is free. So as you can see in this image, an important criteria when you get tested for ADHD is that it needs to be present before the age of 12. It needs to be present in multiple settings, interferes with or reduces daily functioning, and it does not have an explanation by another mental health condition. What the ADHD test consists of is surveys, and the individual needs to take them, as well as someone that have known them their entire lives. Someone needs to be accountable for them. After they pass the surveys, they go and talk with a doctor and a counselor. An individual will get diagnosed with ADHD. And because it got tested, which, let's remember, is part of the requirements to become a disability, she and many individuals that pass the test, that were diagnosed with ADHD, can have the possibility to obtain more benefits from the school district. So what Maya believed that helped her succeed was God, her mother, and her teacher. What she wished she could know beforehand, it was to notice that she was feeling behind and to have more visual activity. She never really noticed that she was falling behind because everybody kept blaming it on her personality and that she wasn't doing enough to get rid of the struggles and challenges. And she, as well as the population that suffers from ADHD, are visual learners. So a lot of activity and interaction in the classroom will help them a lot. Some of the strategies that she used and is using right now are prescribe drugs, planner, talk with friends and family, people to hold them accountable, and disability benefits from school. When I said talk with friends and family, I mean in an emotional way, and also to help with disability. That goes hand by hand with when people told to hold them accountable. When they are more open about the disability, those around them can help them achieve their goals. Also, the disability benefits from school are really helpful for the students. For example, here at Brigham Young University, they have a lot of resources for ADHD students, the students that suffer with ADHD. For example, as mentioned before, one of the hardest things for this community of students is reading. And one of the resources that BYU-I has for them is an application that it will read all the articles, texts, and everything in the computer for them. That way they're reading, looking at it, and listening at it, so their brains can be more focused on it. It's important to know that the symptoms of ADHD are different from boys and girls. So according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention Trust Resource, boys are 3 times more likely to receive an ADHD diagnosis than girls. Isn't that interesting? So some of the symptoms that boys have are hyperactivity, such as running and hitting, lack of focus, including inattentiveness, inability to sit still, physical aggression, talking excessively, frequently interrupting other people's conversation and activities. As girls, they have low self-esteem, anxiety, intellectual impairment, difficulty with academic achievement, inattentiveness or tendency to daydream, trouble focusing, appearing not to listen, verbal aggression, such as teasing or name calling. If we think about these symptoms, we think about a normal teenager, right? So it's really hard to differentiate between that quote, stage of life, close quote, than ADHD. Some feelings that individuals with ADHD will relate to this disability are bubbles, because as many of them feel, ADHD gives them more ability to see the beauty in life, even though they go through a lot of struggles and challenges in their life and get distracted by little bubbles, for example. It still gives them their sparkle in their lives. And then, as mentioned a couple minutes before by Dr. Harwell, quote, Ferrari with bike brakes. What does this mean? Ferrari, as we may know, it's a car that can go really, really fast. But if we put bike brakes to this Ferrari, it will be really hard to make it stop. Just like that, Dr. Harwell explains that that's how the brain works when we suffer from ADHD. Our brain can go 100 miles per hour, but we'll have bike brakes, so it's really hard to make it stop when we need it to make a stop. So some applications and recommendations to improve education are to get informed. I think it's really important for teachers, staff members, and parents to get informed about the disability, get to know symptoms, possible symptoms that can be related to it. It really helps and make it easier for us as educators and for the student. And also can inform on what can we do to help them. As mentioned before, we can also request a test for the students. We can have documentation of their performance during class that can lead to a diagnosis of ADHD. Another thing we can do is provide emotional support. I feel not only students that suffer from this disability need emotional support. Many of our students will. And it's our responsibility to show emotional support to them. Connect with families to resources. Many families do not know about the resources that are available in your school district. Counseling, psychologists, applications that will make the student's life a little bit easier. We need to also make the families involved in their child's education. We as educators can also have more flexibility. We can allow for breaks, extra time, one-on-one instruction, etc. This will really help the students, especially students that suffer from ADHD, to be more focused and to engage more in our routine. Something that happened in my personal life is, while I was in high school, our teachers would have one-on-one interviews. And that is when I feel more open to talk about, because many other students will be shy and even embarrassed to admit they're struggling in their class. So having this one-on-one instruction can really benefit the student to open up and for us to be more noticeable of those that are falling behind and to really help them. We also could be more genuine in the interactions, have more creativity in our classrooms. It's been proven that changing the activity that we're doing in our classroom every 10 minutes can engage more the students in our lesson and keep them focused on it. For example, if you're showing a video, then after 10 minutes, you can do a little lecture and a little activity, make them move around the classroom, change their seats, have more conversations through it. And even when you show videos, you can pause the videos at a point so they can really understand the meaning behind it and what you expect them to know as an educator. Something also important is to monitor frequently. Make sure and know how their students are doing. And here's also when family support comes a vital part in the students performing. Monitor frequently, but act upon it is our responsibility too. Consider the applications and recommendations for educational curriculums in our classrooms are to understand and to make our students understand that we all come from diverse communities and different cultures. We are all different, and that is okay, and that is normal. Because of this, I also thought throughout my research and throughout my interview, how important it is to apply and implement UDL, or in other words, Universal Design for Learning, into our lessons. That way we can break those barriers that students have daily in our classrooms. And what does that mean? That means to go that extra mile, to run the extra mile. For example, if we're showing a video, make sure the audio is okay, make sure everyone is listening. You can put subtitles on it so they can read, watch, and hear. So my main three themes that can lead to success are family connection, engagement, and mental health. Family connection, as mentioned before, is a vital element into our students' development in classrooms and to succeed. Quote from Maya says, "My mom was my rock. She was so patient and did everything she could to help me. At the same time, even though I was the lazy one and the messy one in the house, she showed me her unconditional love that kept me away from horrible thoughts." Engagement is really important, and we can do a lot to engage your students. Make sure you get to know your students. That's so important when it comes to classroom. What are they interested? What do they like? What do they not like? Quote from Maya says, "If I like the subject and my attention was there, I will give them 110% I would give 110% in the class. But if I was not interested, I barely pass." Mental health, emotional support. Quote from Maya says, "I was a problem. It was my mental personal problem." End quote. This mindset encouraged her to create this bubble and to try to hide these symptoms from ADHD. She didn't want to feel different. Any one of our students want to feel different from our peers. But we need to let them know that it's okay. We need to create a safe environment in our classrooms when mental health can be healthy. Another thing that we can do as teachers and educators is to let them know our goal, let them know why we are here. We are here for them, for their success. We want to help them. We are here for their education. We need to let them know that they matter, that we care for them, that we support them. And we need to meet their needs. But in order to meet their needs, we need to know what they need. These are my reference, and I hope you really enjoy this presentation.